You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Wednesday, August 12th. Thank you guys for joining us. We do appreciate it. What's been a stormy, rainy Wednesday here in the Quad Cities, which always makes for fun when it comes to electronics and technology. But we are up. We're going. I think the storms have passed where I'm at. So hopefully we have a full fun show right here on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. If you're watching us live on YouTube, thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. Make sure you have subscribed. If you have, thank you. If you have not, please do so ASAP, and then tell all your friends. 10 a.m. every weekday. A good week, a fun week this week, and we're moving towards Friday when we have a huge show coming up on Friday. We'll explain that coming up in just a few moments. If you're watching us live on X, we appreciate that. X has been very, very good to us as well. We are streaming on the WHO Plus streaming app right now as we speak. We do that each and every day starting at 10 o'clock. So welcome to our viewers in Central Iowa as well, and everywhere you're watching us. We greatly do appreciate it. Also, we are available on all the podcasting platforms as well. So wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Apple, Podbean, iHeart, wherever you go to get podcasts, put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, and you can listen to the show each and every day as well. It was a fun start to the week. Yesterday, we had Tom Kakert and John Bonenkamp, two longtime beat writers for Iowa football. They'll be there on Friday for Media Day. We love to do this each and every year. We take some of the categories of stat leaders and we give predictions, whether it's receiving touchdowns, receiving yards, sacks, interceptions. Had a bunch of fun questions for them, and they gave us our predictions, or they gave us their predictions. It was a lot of fun, so check that out from yesterday. Also on yesterday's show, Dave Saban from Rock Island was here to talk about Don Nelson and then John Marks as well. So go check out yesterday's show if you missed that. A busy show coming up today. In just a matter of moments, we'll continue our high school football previews. Really going to be focused on that today with a lot to get to college-wise on Friday. So Rusty VanWetzinga, we'll talk Pleasant Valley football. And after a 5-4 season for them, what they look like this year. A lot of young players that got good experience last year, back from a year ago. Numbers are high. Pleasant Valley football looks promising this season. We'll talk to Rusty VanWetzinga about that. We'll also go to Geneseo. Matt Furlong will join us. Geneseo was one of the stories in high school football in our area last fall. A fantastic run ending in the quarterfinals. So we'll talk with Matt Furlong on how the Maple Leafs have reloaded, and then also busy time in the NFL. The Bears with some bad news yesterday. We'll get to that in a second. Their first preseason game is coming up on Saturday. So we'll catch up with Lorin Cox from Locked On Bears and talk a bunch of Bears football, whether it be good news from training camp, the good stories, the worries and concerns. Will the starters play? What will the game against Cleveland look like coming up? And then much more. Obviously, the Coby Bryant injury as well. That's in hour number 2 of the show today. So a busy show to get to today. We talked about coming up on Friday, one of our biggest shows of the year. Last year we did it. Obviously, this was all new for us last year. So it's our second time doing this, but it's OTA at Iowa Football Media Day. And we're really excited about it. Last year's show was a bunch of fun. This year's show will be the same. I've been talking the last couple weeks about a 2:30 start. Probably more closer to a 3 o'clock start when it comes to the show itself. I'll know a little more for sure tomorrow. But it looks like maybe 3 to 4:30 or 5 is what we'll end up doing. We've got some fun Quad City Hawkeyes lined up when Kyler Girardi and Nolan DeLong. We have Pat Anger kicking off the show. We'll also talk with Addison Ostrenga as well. Yossi Epinesa figures to be a prominent fixture on that defensive line for years to come. Yossi is hoping to join us as well. We're going to sit down with both quarterbacks at the same time. So Jeremy Heiklinski and Hank Brown will sit down. We'll chat with both of them to kind of get to their relationship. A lot of times you're going to talk to one of them about what they're doing schematically and how their camp's going, and the other one the same. But to sit down with them together will be a lot of fun and kind of talk about what their relationship's like as they compete for the starting quarterback position at the University of Iowa. That should be a bunch of fun. And then hopefully, as time permits, Kirk Ferentz will join us on Thursday as well. Friday. So a huge show coming up on Friday at the practice facility indoors at the University of Iowa. So put that on your calendar. I know it's a Friday going into the Friday evening in the weekend, but Friday afternoon, take some time and hang out with us on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. Should be a whole bunch of fun and a ton of fun to get to as well. Also, we mentioned it a little bit, but Coby Bryant, the news not good for the Bears. Hurt himself probably a couple weeks ago, and the first reports were, one, it looked bad to begin with, and then first reports were 8 to 10 weeks. Maybe misses the first month of the season or first couple games, but he's back and rocking and rolling. Came out yesterday. He'll miss 4 to 6 months after surgery. Good news is if it's the 4 months, then he's back. December-ish. If the Bears make the playoffs, it would be around for the playoffs. And then if it's 6 months, he's going to miss the season. So bad news, obviously, for the Bears. And everyone knows I don't like the Bears. I'm a Lions fan, and I know there's Packers fans listening and Vikings fans, whatever. I do not celebrate, love. I can't stand injuries. I'm not that fan base that – and I know there's probably Lions fans that are giving high fives today. And same thing when Cade Mays went down for the Lions the other day. Bears fans would text me, and they're happy about it. But it just stinks. It's weird with football because, like, if you go online right now, if you go to social media and you look and scroll for your team – you almost don't want to hear anything because no news is good news. A lot of times this year you're going to hear about an injury or a setback that's going to cost your team. So injuries are obviously a thing in the NFL, and the Bears really looking to change that defense. I know it was opportunistic last year, but under defensive coordinator Dennis Allen, I don't think they had the the pieces in the secondary that they liked, the way they like to play. And I think they did that. They changed that, drafting the rookie in the first round at safety, adding Coby Bryant. That was for a reason and done right away. So it'll have a trickle-down effect. Lorin Cox, like I mentioned, will come up a little bit later on and talk to us about the Bears coming up in hour number 2 of the show as well. When you look at Major League Baseball, Cubs win once again. They continue to play really, really good baseball. PCA is your MVP, and I get it. I mean, if we're going to do the whole pitching thing, then we'll give it to Shohei every year. But Pete Crow Armstrong's having a fantastic season. That continues. Cubs win again. So good news if you're a Cub fan on that front. Right now, the White Sox are in first place. They lost, but they are 4 games over and 2.5 up with the Tigers, which is crazy because they sold at the deadline and they continue to win baseball games. They've won 3 straight. But as for the Cubs themselves, they're just 4 back now. 20 games over 500 and playing really good baseball. So we'll talk some more Cubs later this week. I think we're going to do some Cubs stuff tomorrow. So good news for the Cubs. WNBA, it was the Fever winning. Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell dominating. They win once again. They beat the Liberty. So the Fever playing really good basketball. And when you get away from the nonsense that goes on in the WNBA with the non-basketball stuff, and just focus on the product itself. It's good. It's a good product. I mean, the referees suck and all those kind of things, but that's with every sport probably. But there's some really good storylines in the WNBA if you just look at the basketball and not look at the craziness that goes on one side or the other. I'm not getting into all that kind of stuff, but it's just it's focus on the sport, and I think that's the thing that people need to remember. Caitlin Clark, fantastic yesterday for the Fever once again as well. So we are going to take a quick 30-second timeout, and then when we get back, we're going to continue our high school football previews with a trip over to Pleasant Valley and a great conversation with Rusty VanWetzinga. So don't forget, Rusty coming up, Matt Furlong and Geneseo after that, and then we're going to talk Bears as well. All that and much more. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Here's a quick 30-second timeout from one of our newest sponsors, Black and Gold Shop, over 3 great locations, Coralville, over in Davenport, and then, of course, West Des Moines as well. Iowa football season is coming right around the corner, and they simply have everything you would need when it comes to game day, Iowa apparel, and a whole bunch more. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. Hawkeye fans, football season is quickly approaching, and only one place can get you game day ready. The Black and Gold Shop is your official retailer of Iowa athletics. The largest selection of Hawkeye apparel, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and more from top brands like Nike, Champion, and Under Armour. And your purchases directly help support Iowa athletics. So stop by one of their 3 great locations in the Quad Cities, Coralville, or West Des Moines. Or shop anytime at blackandgoldshop.com. The Black and Gold Shop, your official apparel provider of Iowa athletics. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. High school football season is just around the corner, of course. 1 week from this Friday, we'll start week 1 on the Illinois side of the river, and then the following Friday, things will get rolling for real for the boys on the Iowa side as well, and it should be another fantastic season of high school football. We'll continue our High school football previews on the Iowa side with a familiar face here on OTA. Rusty VanWetzinga joins us on a rainy Wednesday morning. How are you, my friend? Enjoying the final days of your summer before you get back to the grind?
Yeah, doing well. We got get as we're getting ready for school, which I go back next week, I think Monday, and then we got camp under our belt from last week, and then got 2 days. We had to just practice a couple times yesterday with the high humidity, and those are state rules that have to be followed. So we pushed things back a little bit so we could navigate and just be in helmets. So this afternoon we'll be in shoulder pads and helmets. So yeah, we're moving right along. Once you kind of get into this time of year, it's boom, boom, boom. You just keep going, grinding through, and trying to get your stuff in, which we've been doing a good job with that, and getting installation in and evaluating, and trying to get better day after day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Rusty, you look at it, I want to talk about your team in a second, but for yourself, I don't want to age you, but this is year what, 3, 4? What are you coaching now? Is it 20? Is it what year is this for you?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this before I talk. I've been a head coach at Pleasant Valley since 2002, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
I think 2003.
So
I was the head softball
years.
coach for 5 years at Pleasant Valley and had really good success. Got third place and state runner-up, won the MAC a couple times, and then in 2007 took over as the head football coach. So this is my 20th year as head football. So 25 years I've been a head coach over Pleasant Valley, and my 31st year coaching. So it's gone fast.
Let me ask
you
the impossible question. What's the I guess what would you tell young Rusty back in 2007 that you know today as you get ready for your 20th season as a head coach?
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt. I would say probably that's pretty wound. I think I've just gotten to be obviously a better coach. Learning technique, fundamentals, and but got pretty I don't know, nervous, uptight, wound tight my early years a little bit. And, when I was in softball, I had a softball background as far as baseball background, my sister and some of the other people I've been around and knew. But I was always really good at observing and kind of learning, and that stuff's always really kind of come easy to me, seeing things in live and kind of, looking at it and applying it to good things that I saw from coaches, players that I could learn and use. But obviously there was always because I was pretty young at the time, there was always a lot of nerves and anxiousness, you might say. And then when you took that kind of repeated itself, my fifth year of softball, I was kind of, into things and felt good about the program and so forth. And then the football opportunity came up, and that kind of repeated itself again, filling big shoes under Coach Ed Morrissey, who I played for, and knew we had to try to put, do some things that I learned from Ed and try to build the program that I envisioned. And not even just football's a big operation. So there was a lot of, I had some great help, some good assistants that were older guys at the time that kind of helped me along the way. And, and just, learning to be a head coach, learning to speak, learning to, connect with kids. Those things just, it's been quite the venture over the years. And, as time went on, and we've had some great success, that just kind of learning to take it in, and it's been bumpy too at times. There's a lot of I like to win and like to be competitive, and there's frustrations when you come up short, but you got to kind of look at things the entirety, just. It's more than wins and losses. Obviously, that's a huge part of it, and obviously, but just meeting so many great people, parents, fans, coaches, obviously the players, both the gals that I had the opportunity to coach, and then of course football as well. And I've been involved with wrestling too. I still am help coach handouts. So that's obviously been a big part of my career, a big part of my life, and it's opened many doors for me and allowed me to meet great people and hopefully had that impact too a little bit. So we want to win. I want to win as much as anybody. And just learning how to prepare to win with the guys that you got has been a big, I think, growth in our area over a period of time. And I got some tremendous coaches that have been with me since the beginning, and it's been quite a ride.
Absolutely. Rusty, you look at this year and obviously you go back to last season and a 5-4 season at some schools is fine and great. And it wasn't to the standard that you guys obviously want to get to and be at, but you knew, I think, going in, it was going to be a younger team that might learn on the road and on the move, I guess, if you will. And I think you did. What was that experience like last year? Because I remember talking to you this time last year and you're like, we're inexperienced. We don't know a few things. That inexperience can quickly become some guys that have some pretty good experience. Is that the case maybe this year where the younger guys now come back with a good amount of experience?
Boy, I sure hope so. I think I remember talking to you about it last year. I knew we had a lot of unknowns, and every class is different, Matt. Every class has some strengths, and we were talking before about multiple sports, and some kids might be more in tune with a different sport. So we kind of knew that going in, and I kind of told that to you. But I thought our kids battled tremendously, and we were really young, and so young that we'd never really been that young. I mean, having that many sophomores play varsity football. I mean, none of those kids would. When I told them, none of them would have played for us in the previous 5 or 6 years because we were really talented. But they were forced to play, and it's kind of a baptism by fire, both some of our sophomores and juniors. So, our kids, outside of one game last year that was really frustrating, the Linn-Mar game where that wasn't indicative of Pleasant Valley, 5 or 6 turnovers and just got shell shocked and got behind the ball. But we were in every game. We battled Iowa City Liberty. We battled Iowa City West. We were able to get Bettendorf. Cedar Falls came down. So we were right there in a handful of games. And one of those games goes our way, we would have been in the playoffs. But, you got to earn that. And I think you talk about that inexperience last year. There's really no substitute for that. You got people who've been through it. And I think that bodes well for a number of our kids and certainly for our team is, they've been through it for, a year. Some of them have been through it, 2.5 years. So, I like where we're at. I like what we see. We have areas of, I don't know if deficiencies is the right word, but areas, of focus, all areas of focus, but just question marks, depth and those types of things. Like, hey, you're the guy now. And how that kid's going to react. And, I talk a little bit this year about, you got to have alphas. And I've told these kids, some of the guys that have gone and played college football for us or a college sport, they were just different. They were different. You got to be different a little bit, not in a bad way, but you just got to be. It's not good enough to be the best at Pleasant Valley. Whoopee-doo. If you are the best at Pleasant Valley, and this is how I'm wired, I'm looking at who's over at Bettendorf, who's up at Cedar Falls, who's up at Iowa City West, and that was ingrained in me long before I was a coach. That's just, and a lot of guys have that. So that's what, one of my points of emphasis to really a lot of our veteran guys, our better guys, and that brings other people along. All really good teams have, I don't care if it's the NFL, college, high school, there probably needs a little bit more guidance at the high school level, but our player led, and you don't need to be a big rah guy. I never was one of those, but just being different at practice. And I'm like, oh boy, you know what? And if you make the coaches mad, I always say this, that's okay. If you're kicking ass on the defensive side and the offensive coaches don't like like it, that's okay. Vice versa.
Yeah.
Because you're being different.
Tell us
brings
about
dudes along.
Tell us about let's go offensive side, defensive side. I know the offensive line, the trenches are very important for you. You have some guys coming
Huge.
back on that side, and you have a quarterback that you know about and that you, I think, like where he's headed, and he's still young, but he's got the experience from the past. Tell me how this offense might look, and then we'll flip to the defensive side in a second. But offensively,
I really think, I think every team starts with their trigger guy in this day and age of football. We're not. If you got a Roger Craig in the backfield, as you know, he's going to get the ball 40 times a game, and you're going to ride that dude or a Tavian or whoever it might be.
Yeah.
But in this day and age of football, you got to have a trigger man. And I think our guy, Colin Townsend, he had some really valuable experience last year playing for us, splitting time with Lincoln Dalton. And then he was really critical for the baseball team down the stretch, getting on the mound. He's got a good presence about himself. I think he handles things really well. He doesn't. He's been shown good leadership. He's got to handle the offense. I think we got a kid behind him too that will Landon Lynch will is it ready to step in if need to. So that's where it all starts. And then we got some kids in the backfield. I think that Owen Ebenhart, kid Daughtry, Ashton Stofflet, Tripp, Barclay, guys that were on track, are good, are fast, are quick, who've played for us, have gotten themselves more physical. So I like what I've seen there. A guy's got some wheels. We got a couple other kids that can really run, which is important. Speed is no substitute for that. We got Maddox, who's 6'3" receiver, who got hurt last year as a sophomore, but was doing a nice job. So big things from him. We got our tight end back, Noah Teal, who will do an excellent job. He's really put a lot of time in the weight room, and good looking physical blocker. And then up front, we got Brody Robertson. We got Blake Mondahar, who played a tremendous amount. Evan Sells for us last year on the offensive line. Defensive line, then you jump over to defense. We got our kickers back, punters back. We got Dane Cox, who's been a 2-time state place winner in wrestling, who's played on that really nice team in 2024 that got beat by Southeast Polk at the end of the game. Goes on and wins the state championship. Came right down to the wire with Joey's senior year and so forth. And Dane played a lot for us there as a sophomore, and obviously had a great year last year and is a tremendous wrestler. So it starts with him and Herlick, a defensive end who played it last year as a sophomore. Blake obviously will play a lot defensively, Vandahar. And then we got our whole linebacking crew back. Luke Knutson, who's getting, some looks from some Division II FCS schools at linebacker. Brady Averill, Lincoln, and Gabe Russman, Hank Boddicker, all those guys played at the linebacking, started for us. So secondary, we got a couple kids with some experience, but that's an area. But I like what we see. because they played a lot for us, special teams and in some backup roles. So we got a nice foundation. Just got to have, develop some depth under it and try to minimize as much as possible guys playing both sides of the ball. I think we've done a good job of that. So the foundation's nice, but,
Coach, you guys
got an injury away or something like that,
Yeah. Coach, you look at it and everybody approaches expectations differently. How do you do it for a program? Do you set and put like the dome or state and then go from there? Do you even write them down? Is it a daily thing? Is it beat Bettendorf week 1? Like, how do you approach expectations and goals for teams each year?
I really try to focus on day to day, getting better. And maybe individually I did that as an athlete and as a coach. Individually I do that. I don't like throwing that all out there. I think that's added pressure sometimes when you play your week 1 rival. These kids growing up together, sometimes it gets like over the top a little bit. And then, because, hey, they got their parents telling them, they got their, the community telling them, they got the and there's a lot of social media, that sort of stuff. So we just really try to focus on day-to-day expectations, day-to-day getting better, handle yourself like a pro. Do the things right in practice. You're here to get better. It doesn't matter to be the best at PV. It matters, but there's a bigger world than that. And then just day by day, perfecting your craft. We focus here at Pleasant Valley, is our effort and our execution. And obviously, I throw attitude on there too, because you got to have a good attitude. You got to be coachable. One of my pet peeves is when you're trying to, and I get an answer back, I know. Well, if you know, you wouldn't have done it, or you would have did it the right way. So being coachable is, and with the attitude, and then we got to execute at a high level, Matt. We really do, and when we're doing that, we're hard to defend because of what we do and kind of how we do it. We can be stopped. I mean, it's not like and then defensively, being able to, do different things on that side of the ball, up front, 4-man front, 3-man front, 5-man front, movements, blitzes, disguising coverages. So our kids are smart, and our kids have been competitive since they've been little kids. We kind of talked about that before. They've been in travel ball, travel basketball. They've been, doing all these things. So, and a lot of that stems from their folks. Their folks want them to, they got high expectations. They want their kid to be successful, which is important. And that kind of permeates a little bit. And that's kind of been going on for some time. So those are the things I kind of really focus on. I mean, I do look at our schedule, and, what really kept us out of the playoffs last year was these 5 teams. We beat one of them. Well, we got to do better than that. If you want to play bonus football, we were able to get Bettendorf week 1 in a good game, and they always are. But then we fell short against Iowa City West, Iowa City Liberty. Good competitive games. Just didn't have the firepower to kind of keep up with them. And then we let Cedar Falls one kind of came down to the wire, and they got us. And then Linn-Mar, we didn't play well enough to even be, we got beat, I think 28-7. But I mean, you turn the ball over 5-6 times, you're not going to win. So that's kind of where things, when you look back at last year, that that kept us out of the playoffs. And again, every game's important. I'm not slighting anybody by no means. And if you get, in football, it's the only sport that I know of right now that you have to take care of business during the regular season to be able to play in the postseason. And in the state of Iowa, we take 16 teams, and that's all predicated off your RPI. So you got to win big games and teams that are at your level or maybe a little bit above you or whatever. So those are the things down the road, but really just focus on day to day focus and getting better.
A few more for you before I let you go. You mentioned Bettendorf. I don't want to get into the matchup and what do they have, what do you have. That's down the road, but it is 2 weeks from Friday. Do you guys obviously get on, you're putting pads on, I think you said today or whatever, was it yesterday?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a process, but how quickly do you start looking at week 1? And obviously these kids, I mean, they just got done playing an amazing baseball game to go to state. The storied history behind it. Is it, hey, that's week 1, we don't have to not talk about it because week 1's our next game? Or how prevalent is Bettendorf already as we get going? What are we, 15
Oh
days
yeah,
away?
yeah. We've talked about it, and a coaching staff. We've watched things. You watch over the off season of the past game and this summer and so forth, kind of preparing for them, and then we'll probably really start zeroing in on those things next week. From a schematic standpoint, what we think Bettendorf will do offensively and defensively. We've played each other for long period of time, so we have a good handle of their personnel, and they have a good handle of our personnel. It's vice versa, and what we think they'll do, and then it comes down to game night is what team's going to execute better, offensively, defensively, special teams, not turning the ball over, the penalties, all that sort of stuff. So. Yeah, no, it's on the radar. There's no question about that, and our kids know that. It's out there. It's in front of them, and we'll really kind of start getting into that, next week. trying to defend what we think some of the things that they'll do. And they got some nice talented players. They're going to be tough up the middle with their 2 inside linebackers. They'll have some nice secondary kids, and they got their quarterback back too. All right. And I'm sure they'll have a nice track season with their sprinters. I'm sure some of those kids play, and they'll be able to, they always got some dudes that can run and those types of things. But again, I think, it's going to come down to, making plays and being physical, being up front. The game is always that way against them. And I wouldn't expect anything different. And we're over at their place about a mile and a quarter away from, and it's just not too far away from my house. So, we're excited about it. It'll be a great environment for sure.
Oh, I can't
Always
wait.
is.
Let's kick it off today. Let's skip the 2 weeks. You're ready Friday. Let's do it this Friday. Move it up 2 weeks? No?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, why not?
Before I let you get out of here, some fun questions. What's the most fun you had this summer that didn't involve football? It's got to be something.
Going to Alaska. Yeah, going to Alaska. My wife and I took about a 12-day trip, so that was a lot of fun with my brother and sister-in-law and some old neighbors, and it was beautiful.
Was that
Alaska?
First time?
Yeah, first time. And
my wife and I went right before the pandemic, or whatever that was, in 18
awesome.
or 19, and it was amazing. Like my oldest wants to get. What was your favorite part of Alaska? What'd you guys do?
Oh, I love to fish. I didn't have an opportunity to fish, and that's okay. It was just the scenery and just the beauty of Alaska. I mean, it's just different up there. You're not that far from Asia, Russia and the mountains, the remoteness, Matt, just how remote it is up there. There's only 800,000 people that live up there. And it's truly, like a last frontier, and saw some wildlife and train ride, cruise, glaciers, whales. All right. Good breweries, not too bad. That sort of stuff. I got to settle the edge a little bit with that. So that was good. But just really a neat trip.
We did Bear Island when we were up there, and my wife plans all this nonsense, but it was so much fun. We got into like a small plane, and here you are, you get up there, and I'm in the middle of my TV days, and so she was there for a board meeting for Palmer College, and then we stayed several days afterwards, and you could bring your spouse, all that kind of stuff. And I watch the news everywhere I go at that time. I'm like, I want to Cambridge and track what they do, and every single they had every newscast was like, this plane went down, this single engine plane went down, this double engine plane went down. I'm like, that's what we're doing the next day is going. So we get in this little plane and we go across to this Bear Island, they call it. And the bear are just everywhere. And you're just one with the bears. I said to the guys, we got there, I'm like, so we have if they come at us, he's like, well, if they come at us, I have this horn. And I'm like, what if your horn doesn't work? Like, do you have a gun?
Yeah.
Like, we have to, no, it was amazing though. But it's one of those places where, how the people dictate where you're at. Like sometimes you go wherever and it's like the people more than the actual place that you're at. In Alaska, the actual frontier, if you will, dictates what it is, and you're just part of that. That takes over you. It's really cool. I can't wait. I'll talk to you more about your trip. That's cool. That's good stuff.
They told me per capita they got more people with a pilot license than anywhere. That's how you got to get around. To your point.
Yeah, it was crazy. So. It was so much fun. Okay, so what kind of superstitions do you have? I don't know if I ever asked you this. Are you a superstitious guy when it comes to football? And if so, do you have any? What are they? I think you are. You just don't want to admit it.
There's certain things I like to do on game day. Usually come home and just lay down, lay down for a little bit, just kind of close my eyes. Usually get a workout in the morning on game day or sometime during the game. And then, and sometimes I like just isolate myself a little bit because at Pleasant Valley, it's on Friday nights, it's a really big event. We've got a lot of stuff going on. It's kind of a really cool event with the curtain raising game and so forth. So sometimes I just like to isolate myself, listen to some music, kind of go over some things. And, try to think about things playing out. But I wear, usually I got 2 different pairs of shorts I always wear that, are nicer, and just things like that. I don't, not too crazy about some of that stuff. I got to make sure I got some gum on me, that sort of stuff. And there's a few things that
I like it. You're like,
go with the gig.
You're like, I'm not very superstitious, and you just named 7 things off the top of your head that you do on Monday. But they're rich.
Sometimes I know when things are off. That's happened before when something comes up and something like that don't happen, and we got beat, and I kick myself, or I don't feel good about going into it because I didn't get my certain routine.
Yeah, no, I get you. I'm a foodie. Before I let you go, right now, if you're going to grab something to eat, what's the favorite foods that you're like, restaurants, establishments around the Quad Cities you go to?
I like sports fans pizza. I got a good Happy Joe's pizza is good on a Monday on family night, as long as it's cooked well done, and they usually do a great job.
Yeah.
Bad Boys pizzas, and I do like I'm not really very discriminatory when it comes to food, so I do a good job with all my food brands. That's like that, like a good apple once in a while. And
what's the best thing you ate in Alaska?
Best thing I ate in Alaska was probably cod and halibut.
It's just different.
Fish,
It's
just different.
There.
Yeah,
Yep.
just different. And we did a lot of walking, man. I was, they got cod and halibut, and we actually had a great meal. We went on an ATV rides up in Denali, near Denali.
Yep.
It was beautiful, and then they did a whole meal for us, and it was was probably our best meal that we had. It was stunning. All these people did it for us in this little camp. It was great.
Very cool. Before I let you go, the boys up at Central Michigan, of course, Joey, recovering from an ACL. Hopefully he gets rocking and rolling. Achilles. My fault. Achilles.
Yeah.
And then obviously Rusty, ready for another year of college football. Are you excited to keep one eye or maybe 2 eyes up in Central Michigan as well?
Yeah. You just kind of over a period of time, I've done a lot of reflecting over the years. I've seen a lot of kids come and go, and my own kids, and they've, earned the right to go on and play in the college. So my wife and I make all the efforts that possible to get up there and see them. And Pleasant Valley has really been great, working with me to be able to go and see those things, because that would have been a deal breaker for me personally. And it takes some commitment on my wife's end and my end to, jump in a vehicle right after a game and take off to Mount Pleasant or this year, like after the Cedar Falls game, we're going to jump in a plane Saturday morning and fly to Denver to Albuquerque and get down there for their first, their game against New Mexico, which will be really cool. And then I am going to go to the University of Miami. We haven't kind of worked that out yet. They play Miami down there. So those are things you just don't do very often, or maybe even have another opportunity to do it. So I make all and any effort to get to that stuff, because it's gone by, and I've gotten older and seen my kids getting older. I'm telling you, and you're in that midst of that right now with your boys, that how fast it really goes, and how quick life goes by.
No, absolutely. Enjoy the heck out of it. Always enjoy the conversations, my friend. I'm going to have your sister on the show here one of these days real soon. She's actually the best coach of your family. You're just secondary.
Yeah, she's been her. Yeah, probably. She's been she coached with me when I was the head softball coach for 4 years, and she's really kind of done an outstanding job, being out in Denver kind of way, but wherever she's gone, she's won. She was a 2-time, 3-time All-American at Central College, national runner-up, and helped out in high schools there. Then, came with me, and then she went to Indiana State, got her her grad there. They did well there, and went to Colorado School of Mines in Golden, and did an outstanding job there. Upper Iowa hired her. They went from 3 wins to 38 wins in a year, and they've done well. And then Metro State, which is in the Rocky Mountains, same as Colorado School of the Mines, went to the RMAC, the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, And now she's been out at their Metro State, maybe 13, 14, maybe 15 years. I don't really know. I might be misspoken. She's got over 600 some wins.
Whew.
So
finally, a VanWetzinga that can coach. That's what I say. Finally, one of you guys can actually do some coaching. No, so I look forward to that for sure. Hey, good luck this season. Good luck against Bettendorf and all that kind of stuff. And we'll catch up again real soon. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Awesome.
Okay, bye-bye.
That is Rusty VanWetzinga joining us right on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. And as we said, that's such a good rivalry. Bettendorf, Pleasant Valley. It kicks off the season now every single year, and like you get right into it. Like these practices are even more important than maybe before because it's such a big game. And expect Pleasant Valley to be a lot better numbers wise this year. I thought they were a good football team last year, but when it comes to wins and losses, it could be some fun seasons coming up at Pleasant Valley as well. We got more to get to. You're watching OTA. It's a rainy Wednesday here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. For over 65 years, Lindquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities, and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Lindquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
Hey, I'm the Crawford guy.
Ooh, do you guys always speak at the same time?
Sorry, guys. I'll go first. You know, if you need help with your heating or air conditioning,
or electrical,
or plumbing, Crawford Company can solve your problem.
But what about your problem?
What problem?
Do you not hear yourselves? Take it from me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy.
Crawford is the comfort company.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. High school football season now just over a week away for the boys in Illinois. Things get started a week from this Friday, August 21st, and it should be a fantastic season. Once again on the high school football fields. If you missed our show on Sunday, make sure you check that out. You can check that out on this YouTube page, Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You can also go to View from the West and check it out as well. We'll be doing the Western Big Six Coaches Banquet coming up this Sunday at the Stern Center. 5 o'clock is the social hour, the event after that. And then all the talking is done. And it's time to finally play some football. But we got to talk to the coaches throughout the week as well. We're going to be joined now by head coach out of Geneseo, Matt Furlong, joins us right now. How are you, Coach? Good to see you.
Doing well. Excited to get the season started here and get out of all the summer stuff and get to some game action.
I want to start with that because it is a new start to the season, an earlier start to the season. Has it been different? We've asked every coach. Some coaches are different. Is football opening day, whether it's a Wednesday or a Monday, or has it been a little bit of adjustment, moving things up a little bit as you get ready for the season?
I mean, I would say it has been different in some ways. Obviously the starting earlier gives a little less break time between when we're done with our summer stuff versus when we came back, that about a half week earlier. So that was a little different, just kind of the downtime that we didn't quite have as much as normal. And then Tuesday being the first day of full pads versus like that Saturday morning of being the first day of full pads, and some of that stuff just, kind of takes some adjustments and getting used to. But, at the end of the day, it's once you're out there, it's practice and everything's going. So that part of it's no different.
It was a shorter off season with the early move up, but then obviously a little shorter off season as well because you guys played a lot of football at the end of last year. Obviously an exciting, fantastic season last year, great postseason run. You want to use that as momentum and building into this year. It's also a new year. How do you balance the two things between keeping the momentum going from an amazing season last year and realizing that there's some new faces and it's a different team once again?
Yeah, we've certainly referenced last year. We've talked about how that team kind of set the expectations, the standard for what we're looking for moving forward. Just in how they approach the game, and what their mental makeup was like, what their physical makeup was like. So we've certainly referenced that because a lot of our guys are on that team and experienced it and know what it was about. Then we've also talked at the same time now that like that group's gone. A lot of those seniors we got to replace, and even those guys who are back are different players than what they were a year ago. So for us, it's been a lot of learning from the good from last year, and trying to then correct some of the things that we got to get better at. And at the same time, understanding that that group, kind of lit that fire and got things going again, within the Geneseo community and what the program was like, and hopefully will be again here moving forward. And part of their process now is they got to be that group to keep that momentum going and make sure what that group did last year, is going to be the standard now moving forward.
You're entering year number 3. Time flies. From when you took it over to now, if I would have said to you, this is where you're at as you enter year 3, content, happy, hungry, what would you have thought if I told you this is where Geneseo football was at when you took over 2 years ago?
Yeah, I would say, happy with the progress. Obviously from that first year of coming in and new with all new coaches to me. We had great guys coming back and carried over from Coach Johnson's staff, and putting in new offense, new defense, new special team stuff. So that part of it, very happy with where we're at now versus, where we were at that first year or even last year at this time. As far as the install that we have in, our kids' understanding of what we want them to do. And then at the same time, like the hungry piece is always there. That's always something where, at the end of the season, unless you win a state championship, there's always, some disappointment there. And then even those years that if you are fortunate enough to go down and win it, like a lot of times that's always been for me even more motivating. Like you want that feeling again. And the same thing just last year with that quarterfinal run and what that meant to, our kids and our group. Just giving this group the opportunity to experience that stuff again always keeps you hungry.
It's interesting because last year we got used to some names. We do every year. Kai Weisenberg is playing college football. McAvoy's not there anymore as well, and others. But you do return big pieces and important pieces as well. Kind of tell us how this is going to look, because you have to fill some voids, but you have some good foundation there. Give us some names and some people that we can maybe expect to hear a lot of when it comes to Geneseo football this next season.
Yeah, I would say overall, obviously Kai and Jackson were both dynamic players for us. And, we're high-level talents who are capable of making explosive plays. And quite frankly, probably won us at least 2 games last year, there with making some plays versus, UT and Rochelle. And, obviously they're going to be missed and looking forward to those guys' college experience and the great things they're going to do there. But yeah, we definitely bring a lot back, and a lot of more depth probably than where we've been here in the past now. So offensively, we got 3 guys coming back offensive line wise, and Josh Stahl, Jaden Shipman, and Ethan Brown, and all 3 were starters for us throughout the year last year and did good things. Colton Mooney ended up stepping in when we had an injury last year and got some good playoff experience, as far as being out there in that starting role. And then backfield wise, we got Mark Nelms coming back at fullback, who's had an outstanding offseason. Just leadership wise, Zephyr in the weight room, really getting a feel for running our offense at fullback and finding those openings and holes. So we're excited for him and see what he's going to do this year. And then Harrison Hill at slot, who stepped in for us last year as a sophomore, and really kind of took over and gained confidence in his game as the year went, and showed great improvement. So we're excited to see what he's going to be able to do there as well.
Obviously, defense, very important, Geneseo. Tell me about that side of the football. When defense wins a lot of football games, what do you see from your guys? Return some pieces as well on the defensive side.
Yeah, so, secondary-wise, we got a few guys back. Jack Mickley and Keenan Ariano have been 2-year starters for us now, coming back for a 3rd year in the defensive backfield there. And then, we got some other guys, Jaden Wexel, who started most of our season, for us last year and really came on at the end of the year at corner for us. Then we got a couple other kids who we're confident are going to step in there and do well for us, who, had some varsity playing time, both defensively and on special teams last year. And then defensive line wise, it's probably the group that's taken the biggest jump. We got a lot of guys back from that group last year, and just the strength that they put on, some of the weight that they put on in the off season. We've really seen a big improvement from them. So excited for that, to have kind of that group, both offensively and defensively, that hopefully can be the anchors for our team.
Coach, it starts soon. It starts in about a week and a half, week and a couple of days. And it's a fun start for you once again, because you go against a school you know a little bit about, a uniform you used to use and wear. It was a blast last year, obviously, to have Assumption and Geneseo going head-to-head. You head back over to that campus, different stadium. You didn't play at that stadium. You're not that young. What's it like for you personally? And we'll talk about the game itself in a second, but it's got to be special for you to get back over on that campus, get to Assumption High School. And you know the tradition there more than anybody. It's two tradition-rich programs going head-to-head.
Yeah, they've, obviously, having gone to high school there, and some of those guys still being around on the staff, getting to know Coach Gilbrath here over the years, and just what that community and how excited they get for their football team. They brought a great crowd over here last year. We're looking to do the same going over there. Anytime you can kind of get, two programs like this together, early in the season, it gets you good experience just in like those big game environments and crowd noises and all those different things that, if you want to win those close games and big games and important games as the season goes, it's just one more step to get you prepared for that.
Then you get Rochelle, and so you'll get Rochelle like 3 times in 12 games or whatever it might be. And no love lost there. Obviously, a great respect between the two programs as well. That's a heck of a way to start the season. You did that last year as well. Kind of talk about that, because you will be battle tested one way or another when it comes to the Western Big Six play.
Yeah, and that's something we were looking to do last year, was to get some competitive non-conference games, and felt like we certainly did that with the two we got on the schedule. And Assumption's kind of that regional rival, but Rochelle has been too. Going back to the old conference where they were part of that, and then obviously the two games we had with them last year and the way that the playoff game ended. I think both teams are probably excited for it again this year, and also know what they're in for. So definitely excited for those two to get things started, and we'll find out a lot about our teams early on.
I got to ask you about the Western Big Six. We talked about it on Sunday. We'll talk about it this Sunday as well. That handsome fella, Mike Morrissey at Moline, has the greatest team ever, is what we've been talking about. But we like to put pressure on Coach Morrissey. But I don't want to say handicap the conference or go through everybody. But give me a big picture look at this conference, because I think it's intriguing as always. I do think Moline's probably everybody's favorite early on, but there's some really interesting storylines as we go into the season, and teams as well. Big picture, the Western Big Six for me. What do you see?
Obviously, Moline's getting a lot of the preseason hype and that, and deservedly so. I mean, they've got, a lot of guys coming back, offensively, defensively. It sounded like, based on what all you guys are saying, we're all just playing for second place there in the league now.
Never me, Coach. Never me. Go ahead.
But certainly, I mean, they're going to be a very good team, and rightfully so are getting a lot of that attention. But I really feel like conference wise, the conference keeps getting better. I feel like the bottom end has really come up since that first year here. Obviously UT is things going in the right direction, and we've had 2 very good games with them the last 2 years. Sterling's always a battle. They're so well coached, and just that group and that community has a lot of similarities to us and kind of that aspect of football. And then just kind of working it out, man. I was very impressed with Galesburg last year, and the jump they took in that second year under Coach Hickey and what they did. They're playing very competitive football and then had some injuries and some other things there at the end. I'll be excited to see, what Coach Rome, gets done over at Rocky. I've got a lot of respect for him and got to know him back when he was on Coach Morrissey's staff in Moline, and, really feel like, the conference, has just coaching wise who you're going against kind of week in and week out. I got a lot of respect for those guys and what they do and how well they get their teams prepared each week.
Is it more difficult the longer you're in the league to do these matchups, obviously, and you're going to do it for a long time, but you get to know each other pretty well. I think year 3, and they probably already know you pretty well. You know them. Is that the part that maybe the fans don't get to see is we see the game on the field, and that's super important, but the coaching matchups each week, they're pretty fun. And you guys are all personable as well and all friendly with each other in a good way. Great relationships around the conference.
Yeah. Anytime you kind of get that back and forth, and a lot of coaches who have gone against each other over the years, it certainly gets like tougher each year. Obviously at this point they've gotten used to some things about us and what we want to do on offense and defense, and so that's been part of what we've been doing in the off season. Is coming up with some ways we can look to improve things, ways we can tweak things, to be a little bit different each year. At the same time, they're over there, they're doing the same things. It reminds me a lot of when I was at Cary Grove of all the years going against Prairie Ridge and the respect we had for their coaching staff and just the way how those battles went back and forth. And, when one of us got the other one was just that much more motivated to come back and get them the next time around. And I would say there's definitely, that aspect to it within the conference amongst the coaches and a lot of that camaraderie that's been built there.
Yeah, everybody but Morrissey. Morrissey's kind of annoying, right? But everybody else, they're great. No, I'm teasing. Coach, some dumb questions before we let you go. What's the most fun you had this summer outside of football? You can't say football. You can't say camp. You can't say practice. What's the most fun you had this summer away from football?
I would say start of summer there, we my wife and I went down to Nashville for a Chris Stapleton concert. Right. So that was a lot of fun. He's outstanding. And then, things just, this summer, having more time to hang out with my son and family members and, getting to go to the pool with him and see his sporting events and those things. So, just a lot of that over the course of the summer was enjoyable.
Absolutely. Are you superstitious when it comes to the game of football? When you played, now that you coach, are there a lot of superstitions, or are you not a superstition kind of guy?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
I'm not good at that stuff, to be real honest with you, when it comes to whatever, wearing the same thing, same routine before things. I've never really had much of that. I don't know why. I know a lot of people do, and it works for them, but yeah, it's just never been something I've gotten into for whatever reason.
Coach, I'm a foodie. I like to eat. If you're taking the wife out to dinner, heck, the family, whatever. If you want to just get out there and enjoy a good meal, where are you going?
We've gotten to know a lot of good spots out here in Geneseo. I've started to frequent many of those. I heard Coach Walsh giving the Cellar a shout out the other day there.
Meal. He's just trying to get a free meal. I know.
He's always angling something.
Yep,
always
right.
angling something.
Right.
There's some other ones out here, and then we're kind of a hibachi family, I would say. So like if we're gonna go out and get a meal together as a family, that's usually pretty high up on the list of places we try and go.
Love it. All right, before I let you go, not a dumb question, but a final end of the year question. Obviously, it's going to look different this year. I've asked all the coaches; they've all had a different response, or similar, but you go either way. Do you talk to your kids about what it might look like later, with the buys or the early, the new playoff system? Or do you just say, hey, we're playing football on August 21st, and then we play the 28th, and then we go on from there? Have you addressed the different calendar with the kids?
We've talked about it, just the reality of what it is, as far as the changes that have gone on. But really after we kind of addressed it that first time, the kids, they haven't said much about it. I don't think they've noticed much about it. At the end of the day, you get out there and you're trying to win every game anyway. So however many it takes you to get in the playoffs, isn't necessarily relevant in that sense of it. I think it's probably been more of an impact on, adults and coaches and administrators and family and parents, trying to plan, the summer vacations and how a lot of that changed, and wasn't a whole lot of wiggle room to try and compensate for the late notice of stuff. So, I think for the kids side of things, there probably hasn't been much on their mind with it. I think probably more of that's just been those of us that are dealing with the bigger picture stuff with it.
No, absolutely. Jaden Shipman, I coached him in basketball. Tell him he owes me a box of Little Debbie Christmas trees. He'll know what I mean. And then also Sunday, what's the dress attire? So that I don't like you were the hero of the banquets when you came in, because you're like, I'm not wearing anything special, and we all dummy down. We're still going with that, right? We're no suits, ties.
Absolutely.
What shorts and a t-shirt?
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping to get more and more casual every year, and we'll see how far we can go before somebody says something to me.
No, nobody's going to say a word. We'll see you Sunday. Coach, I always appreciate your time. Best of luck this season. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right, that is Matt Furlong, head coach at Geneseo. One of the great matchups week one, when you have Assumption and Geneseo and the visual of those helmets lining up together. It should be a fantastic week one. Great season for Geneseo. And Coach, I will point out, I think it was on the View from the West podcast, Western Big Six edition, I have Geneseo as my team I like the most, besides Moline, but that's a different story. So we have more to get to. After the break, we're going to hop to the Iowa side of the river. We'll talk with Rusty VanWetzinga and talk some PV football right after this. You're watching OTA on a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo, now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. So much football to talk about this time of year, and usually if you're an NFL fan, you go to Twitter, you go to social media, you want to know about your team, find out how practices are doing, but you have to be careful because sometimes the news is bad news when it comes to injuries and setbacks this time of year. That happened to the Bears yesterday, or earlier this week, or earlier in the preseason, and it came to fruition yesterday that new safety Coby Bryant would be out 4 to 6 months after a knee injury earlier in the preseason. To talk about that injury and a whole bunch of Bears stuff, we turn to our good friend Lorin Cox from Locked On Bears. Football season's here, man. Ready or not, we're doing it, aren't we?
And you can tell football season's here when it's just injury update after injury update, because that feels like the only concrete thing that we get at training camp practice. Right? Everything else is like, well, it's a practice. If the player's good or player's bad, it's just a practice. But injuries last beyond practice, and that's the real concern right now.
Yeah, you look at it, and it's funny because I'll have one of my kids say, "Hey, did you see that? Amon-Ra St. Brown is doing great," and I'm like, does that mean that we can't cover anybody? Or like they'll say like the offensive line is dominating, and I'm like, but does that mean the defensive, or vice versa? So you almost never know as you go through camp. But let's talk about Coby Bryant. Obviously, he was the star signing this offseason. Excuse me. Somebody that Bears fans were excited about. The Bears themselves were excited about. What happened with this? Because it came out 8 to 10 weeks, but I mean, the Bears were quick to caution they had never said that. And then it gets to 4 to 6 months. What happened in between and what landed him in surgery and out for a lot longer than we expected?
Yeah, so when the initial injury happened at practice, clearly Coby Bryant was frustrated, upset, emotional, teammates kind of consoling him and carted off the field. So we all thought the worst, right? Okay, lower leg injury, like this is going to be some kind of major injury. But then later that day, I believe, it was Adam Schefter who tweeted out, hey, he's believed to have avoided a serious injury. They said, hyperextended knee, some like minor fracture in there, but they thought 8 to 10 weeks surgery will not be required, or surgery is not expected from that. But, Ben Johnson was asked about that initially and said, well, that didn't come from us. We're still kind of evaluating what the situation was. The Bears signed a new veteran starting safety over the weekend, and that sort of raised some eyebrows. So then Ben Johnson reveals on Tuesday that, on Friday last week, Coby Bryant indeed had surgery and that it needed to repair the knee there, and that it's going to be a 4 to 6 month injury that could miss the entire regular season. 4 months from now would put him in mid-December is when he could potentially be back at the earliest. But Ben Johnson insists nothing changed, right? Suffered the injury, got a medical evaluation, needed surgery. And I would guess that initial 8 to 10 week number came from Coby Bryant's agent, not the Chicago Bears, just kind of trying to sneak some good news out for his client. Say, oh, don't worry, my client's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. And unfortunately, a little too quick to get that out there. And now we get the full story and the full evaluation, and a much worse news for the Bears than we thought.
I guess the next question is, how does it affect the Bears defensively? We never saw him out there. We don't know how he was going to fit, but obviously a super athlete, really good football player. And that was their targeted priority free agent, was let's get out there. And that's being strong at the safety position is so important. It's a trickle-down effect. We talked about the veteran, and Xavier Woods looks like he's going to be the starter with him, but it probably puts more pressure on that rookie safety as well. How does this injury affect the Bears defense moving forward?
Yeah, definitely a ripple effect situation there, and one where, it's a very different mindset when you go from, okay, we need someone to fill in for Coby Bryant for like maybe a month of the regular season, 4 games-ish is what the original timeline looked like, to now, no, it's the entire season. And so all of a sudden you have to have more of a long-term thinking plan there, at least, for the year, as opposed to just like, well, we could get by for just a few games with, a backup in there. But no, now they say we need somebody like Xavier Woods, who's been an 8-year starter in the NFL. Maybe not a Pro Bowl guy by any means. I mean, he's available in August for a reason, but still smart, physical, dependable player on the back end. And then it allows them to take one of their other veteran backups who they signed in free agency this year, Cameron Lewis from the Buffalo Bills, and allows to play him as their primary slot cornerback. He's kind of been competing at safety and in the slot with Kyler Gordon injured, and thinking with Bryant out, well, you could throw Lewis at safety for a couple weeks and put somebody else in the slot. And then when Coby Bryant comes back, you can move Lewis in the slot, or maybe Kyler Gordon will be back by then. And you can kind of have a lot of different moving parts to kind of fill the same few holes. But now with Coby Bryant out long-term, you can just kind of stick Cam Lewis in there, bring in Xavier Woods, let him be that guy and be that veteran mentor to Dylan Thieneman next to him. And all of a sudden you can kind of go with more concrete plans as opposed to like a little short-term moving guys around and relying on backups that maybe you don't want to start, but for a few games you can survive.
That secondary almost looked to be a strength, and I'm not saying it still won't be, but you lose a safety of that caliber, and then we don't know what's going on with Kyler Gordon. You mentioned that. When you look at that defense as a whole, and I think that's the people are looking at the defense coming into the season. Where's the strength of this defense at right now as we get ready for the preseason to begin on Saturday? Right
now, it doesn't feel like there's a clear strength. I mean, it's probably the linebacker position, but it's that's not necessarily carrying the defense to great heights just because of the injuries. Like, you're 100% right. Like, the whole plan of the offseason was, hey, they're going to get some of Dennis Allen's guys in on the back end of the defense. You know, he had inherited the safeties from the previous regime with Matt Eberflus, running a very different style of defense there. And Dennis Allen really likes having versatile athletes on the back end that can play the deep free safety role. They can play up in the box and be physical. Ideally, they can line up in the slot and cover receivers one-on-one, and allows him to disguise coverages more because you're never quite sure which safety is going to be playing where and who they're going to be covering, and you can roll them in different packages and bring in a third safety and really throw things for a loop. And that was going to be the way that you cover better on the back end and then give your pass rush more time to get the quarterback and improve your pass rush, right? They didn't sign any defensive ends, didn't make any major additions on the interior. They said, well, we're going to try and coach the same guys better, be a little healthier, and cover on the back end. Well, so far, you're not being able to cover as well on the back end because you're not healthier either. And all of a sudden, the whole plan for improvement seems to kind of fall apart a little bit there, starting with just one major injury to Coby Bryant.
Lorin Cox from Locked On Bears joining us and off there with Matt Randazzo. You look at it, and the preseason starts coming up on Saturday with the Cleveland Browns coming to town. The big question is, will the starters play? Won't they play? I think from the past and judging from what Ben likes and just reading the tea leaves, probably not going to see too many starters on Saturday. What are the headlines going into the game against the Browns? And what are your thoughts? Do we see some of the starters, none of the starters when the first preseason game kicks off on Saturday?
Yeah, I think the headlines from a Bears perspective is like, put everyone in bubble wrap if possible. Just make sure that no one leaves that game with a major injury, just the way everyone's been dropping like flies. And we're seeing this play out, at least the ramp up to the preseason game, we're seeing play out similarly to how they approached last year, where in the week or so leading up to the first preseason game, Ben Johnson really dialed up the intensity at practices, like a lot of full contact, long, heavy days of kind of like, hey, you've been doing training camp for a couple weeks now, right? And now let's really test you. You're tired. You've been practicing a lot. You're in the swing of things now. Like, let's really kind of push the limits a little bit here. And that's sort of his dress rehearsal, if you will, in lieu of the first preseason game really being that action. Like, if these guys give it their all at these hard practices and fight through really well as expected, then I'm not expecting to really see any of the really important starters in the preseason game. I think the exceptions there might be at the positions where there are battles at camp to see who your starter is going to be, and also then at the positions where there are injuries, and so your backups are now your starters, so you're just going to have to play those backups because you don't have starters to rest there. So I'd expect we're going to see any of the left tackles that are healthy and ready to play will play in that game because they're trying to figure out who the number one left tackle is going to be. I suspect we're going to see some of the defensive backs who wouldn't normally be starters, but because the starters are hurt, they're technically the starters, but they're also the backups. So they're going to play some in this game. And then a couple of guys that are like borderline starters that are younger players might get in the mix there. Like Kyle Monangai on offense, for example, like plays enough like he's a starter, but he's not the number one running back, or Austin Booker at defensive end. Like, you might see some of those younger players, but any kind of established veteran, I don't expect, certainly not Caleb Williams or Jalen Johnson or Devin Bush or some of those. Joe Tooney shouldn't come anywhere near a preseason snap at this stage of his career. And they'll be happy to maybe play those guys a little bit more in the later preseason games. But the first one, they say, hey, we've gotten a lot of practice, a lot of eyes on them. Let's use this opportunity for guys fighting for their 53-man roster spot or their starting job, not the guys who are already secured.
Yeah, put those starters in bubble wrap, especially with the trend of injuries right now around the NFL. Give me some good news from camp. What are some stories that are buzzing around that are feel-good stories or just positive stories for Bears football? Because there's both. We'll go positive first and talk about some things that should have Bears fans excited.
Yeah, I mean, big picture, the operation of the offense is so much farther along than it was last year. Like, last year, they were having a lot of trouble getting lined up and making sure that receivers were in the right positions and running the right routes, and no one's false starting and jumping off the line of scrimmage. Like, they still have false starts, but like, they're a lot cleaner and smoother in the operation. Caleb has the right timing with his receivers, and they seem to be able to move the ball pretty well, pretty effectively across the board on offense. And I will say, like, from an injury standpoint, the offense has been relatively healthy, fingers crossed, right? They haven't had the major injury. A couple of guys, knocking on wood up there, like a couple of guys, Luther Burden obviously like missing the rest of the preseason, but not anything that's going to keep him for the regular season. Like, that group is more or less intact. And I think defensively, feel-good stories are some of the young players that have stepped up, some in case of injury and some not. I look at, fourth-round cornerback Malik Muhammad out of Texas was someone who comes into a team that had, 3 or 4 established guys ahead of him on the depth chart, but Kyler Gordon goes down and Terrell Smith goes down and Tyree Stevenson gets banged up a little bit, and now he's been getting starting reps in the slot and at the outside cornerback that he might not have gotten easily if everyone was healthy, but playing well in those moments when he's thrown into the fire. He could be scrambling out there and struggling, and they'll bring in a veteran to replace him. But for now, he's been kind of holding his own. And on the defensive line, rookie 6th-round pick Jordan Vandenberg. It's one of those guys who you liked a lot as a late-round draft pick, but you never know with late-round draft picks. The Bears signed 3 veterans in free agency at his position this year. He came in as if you're ranking the defensive tackles, number 6 out of 6 defensive tackles there. And he has worked his way up from the 3rd team to the 2nd team to getting first-team reps as a rookie 6th-round pick without there being an injury to clear a space for him. He just impresses every time he's out there with this coaching staff. And so I think he's gone from somebody that we weren't sure if he'd be a practice squad guy or a 53-man roster guy to someone who might actually have a real role on this defensive line right away week 1 as a rookie 6th-round pick.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the injuries, obviously the negative storyline, but outside of injuries and the good news, some injury news, I guess I'll ask you about first before we talk about bad stuff. But Ozzy Trapillo sounds like he's ahead of schedule. What that means, who knows? Maybe you're a doctor, you may know more, but it sounds like it's better than worse. It sounds like sooner than a setback and all those kind of things. Good news on that front, and they need him.
Yeah, I'm struggling to get too carried away with like back sooner than expected. I think has started to get a little bit exaggerated here, right? Because when I remember it was Ben Johnson or Ryan Poles was asked, I think it was Ryan Poles, like didn't rule out the possibility that he could be back even at training camp, like this preseason, and now everyone just jumps and is like, oh well, shoot, he's gonna be back, he'll be ready for week 1, right? It's like, well, again, we're not medical professionals, we don't have the information, but like. That would be a incredibly miraculous recovery here. Like ahead of schedule, it can be even halfway through the regular season would still be ahead of schedule. Like this is a 9 to 12 month injury in most cases, and he suffered it in January, right? So like usually the fastest would be like September, which I technically could be in theory then before the start of the regular season, but at the combine, Ryan Poles said they're expecting Ozzy Trapillo like late in the season, if at all this season was the initial timeline. So sooner than expected could be November or October, not necessarily like August 30th, right? So I'm a little bit weary of saying, all right, he'll be back and ready to go, because even once he is, cleared to return to action, you still got to build that strength and that confidence in your leg after a really serious patellar tendon injury. It's not just literally getting the strength back in physical therapy, but then trusting yourself to put your weight on it and really explode off that knee and that it's not going to buckle. And like I look around over in the Los Angeles Chargers, their left tackle Rashawn Slater tore his patellar tendon last year in training camp and missed the whole year. And right now at training camp, he's dealing with what they're calling a minor flare-up in that repaired knee. So like even once you get back, there can be additional complications with that injury that may not be as serious, but still like keeps you from being that 100% version of yourself. So it is absolutely good news. I don't mean to make it sound like it's not, but I also don't think I don't want to exaggerate just how accelerated it could be. It may just be a month earlier as opposed to like 3 months earlier than we thought.
He might not start the opener, Bears fans, is what Lorin's trying to say. Pump the brakes on it a little bit. Injuries, the bad stuff. Other than injuries, and that has a ripple effect because the secondary with, the couple injuries right now, so there's more question marks. But besides that, what areas of concerns do you – I always say when I talk to the Lions fans, and yes, there's a few of them, I'll say like – they'll ask me like, what do you want – like if you could fix one position or add to one position – what would it be? So I guess I'll ask you that. if there's an area of concern that the Bears could even add to, whether it comes to with cuts or whatever, like what's the area of concern that you have right now going into the season the most?
Yeah, everything is pointed at the defense, and it is a little bit hard to separate the injury thing there because, like, yeah, the offense is clicking and finding a bunch of open receivers downfield, and like you kind of hinted at earlier, like, does that mean the offense is great, or does that mean the defense is struggling? And then how much of that defense struggling is because guys are injured, but like Jalen Johnson's out there, and he's been doing fine one-on-one, but then other guys that are playing a little more because of injury, but you may have had them out there playing anyway, even if there weren't injuries. But if I had to, like, pin down a non-injury like position group, it's always going to be about this defensive line at this point. Like we talk about it's a great story that your 6th-round rookie has earned his way into first team reps, but I think there's the same dual side of that coin is like, how bad is everyone else if a 6th-round rookie is beating out veteran free agents that are kind of journeyman type players? Like, I don't mean to sound too pessimistic on that, but like I find it a little bit hard to believe that the Bears found this player in the 6th round that is some starter. I mean, not that he's going to be a starter, but it's some like runaway genius draft pick that no one else saw for 6 rounds, and that they found this gem. Like, I'm sure the truth is always in the middle here, right? Like, I'm sure he's playing very well and well out producing his draft status, and it's not purely the case that everyone is bad and he just happens to be the best of a bad group. But I think there is something to be said there about, like, they made a concerted effort to go get 3 different free agents to improve the depth there, and a 6th-round pick is beating them out. Like, that tells me that, hey, maybe that depth isn't as strong as they were hoping it to be, and they may look, when roster cut downs happen at the end of the month, they may look for another outside free agent defensive tackle to bring in there because maybe the guys they signed to 1-year deals this offseason won't make the team, and you kind of try the next man up from somebody else's roster.
Absolutely. Lorin Cox from Locked On Bears, a couple more for you, and I promise I'll let you go. You look at the season coming up, and I look at the Lions and think, like, if the defense struggles, they're just going to outscore people because that's what their strength is. Are we to a point with the Bears, or when do we get to a point with the Bears where you look at the strength of the team, which is the offense, and figure they're probably going to have to most days outscore people, but that's not the worst thing in the world because that's kind of their identity right now. I mean, their head coach is Ben Johnson. Like, that's the first identity, kind of gives it away. Are they trending towards the team that, you know what, if they have to go outscore everybody, that might be what they have to do this year?
That's definitely the concern and the direction it feels like it's moving. And you, like you said, it's not the end of the world, but it doesn't feel like yet another like sustainable path for success, right? It's something that maybe you can get by with doing a little bit, but if you're fighting that way at the end of every game, it'll feel a little bit like last year where they were the lucky Bears that found a way to win games. But the whole point of year 2 was to like be more consistent for 4 quarters because the schedule looks more difficult on paper. You're playing both teams in the Super Bowl, and you're always in a really tough NFC North division that you're never going to have easy games in there. So it's hard to count on, as much as you're optimistic about Caleb Williams and Colson Loveland and Luther Burden and Roman Dunze and Ben Johnson calling plays. Like, yes, the offense is going to be great, but like if you're asking them to outscore everybody every game, like that's going to put you in some situations that shouldn't be nearly so difficult. And we saw even last year, like that can be a challenge. Like, they went into a shootout with the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Flacco last year and felt like that really shouldn't have been so close against a team that wasn't very good. And it just kind of leaves you vulnerable to the randomness of the NFL, that one tipped ball here, like it just makes the margin of error so small when you can't count on your defense to bail you out that much if your offense happens to make a mistake and isn't perfect for 4 quarters. And it feels like they still have a long way to go on offense to get to that kind of level of just, oh yeah, we'll just blow everybody out, or we'll just win every shootout because the offense is that well-oiled of a machine. Like, you hope for that, but I'm not counting on that right away this early in the Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams pairing.
I know we'll talk to you before the end of the season, but last one, have you done predictions? Have you gone play game by game? Have you looked at the NFC North as a whole? Or is that like a big reveal later? I don't want to steal your thunder when it comes to it.
No, it's not there's no big reveal thing or anything. And when the schedule came out,
drum roll? No drum roll or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, usually the way I do it is like, when the schedule comes out, we'll kind of go through what it looks like on paper. And then like before we get to week 1, we'll kind of reevaluate and say, hey, has anything changed based on injuries to your team or the teams on your schedule? Yeah. And so far, like even with the Coby Bryant injury and stuff, I'm not necessarily, changing everything about where I think the Bears are going to be this season. To me, I have them about a 10-win team. They were 11-6 last year. I don't think they're going to be a worse team necessarily. I just think they're going to play some better teams, and other teams in the division are going to be better than they were last year. And I think they'll be right in that mix. They'll be a playoff team. They'll be pushing for the NFC North. And, with as the injuries continue to pile up, they might lose a couple games that they shouldn't. They might win a couple games that they shouldn't also, and that leaves them around, like a 10-win team. But I think the Lions are going to be better than they were last year. I think the Vikings are going to be a little better than they were last year. Packers, they can get and stay healthy. They'll be a little bit better than they were last year. And all those division games end up being a coin toss. And it's like, well, you'll hope to win 3 of them. And where that leaves you, it's probably about a 10-win team right in the hunt down the end in the playoffs. And then you never know what happens. You make a little noise, you win a game or 2, and that feels about where this expectation should be. It's not the big Super Bowl leap just yet.
Lauren, the Lions and the Bears played for the first time on Thanksgiving this year, and I hate it. Like, people are like, are you excited? No, because it ruins my – like, if y'all beat me on Thanksgiving, then, like, it's not a fun day. So, when the Lions lose to the Bears, it's a bad day. Don't ruin my holidays. So, we'll see. And that's a long ways away when it comes to injuries and everything else. Lauren, I always appreciate your time. I'll probably bug you again before the season starts. Locked On Bears is where everyone can get great coverage, and it's every single day. Plug the podcast real quick before you get out of here.
Of course, I always appreciate you having me on. Happy to do it anytime. Yeah, it's Locked On Bears on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, trying to bring you up to date on all the latest coming out of Bears training camp. It's fast and furious, and it's mostly been injury updates the last week. So hoping to be able to get to some more oh man, this player's doing this and this player's doing that, instead of, well, this player's out for this long and who's going to replace him? Because, boy, it starts to get depressing when they stack up day after day.
Yeah, it does. Lauren, always appreciate you. We'll catch up soon.
All right, thanks for having me.
Awesome. That is Lorin Cox from Locked On Bears. I listen to Locked On Lions every day. I listen to Locked On Bears a lot of the days as well, almost every day as well. Lorin does great stuff, and he's right. It's one of the – I have, people text me, some Lions buddies, that if I see a text pops up from them, I'm almost scared to look at it this time of year more than I am to, excited to see what happened. Now that Jahmyr Gibbs is in camp, it's usually bad news. So it's that's the time of year it is for the NFL. Get through this preseason and let the games begin and let the stuff start for real, and it'll be here very, very soon. We got more to get to. You're watching OTA. It's a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Whoa, that was weird. It's getting dark outside. I feel like I'm doing this show at night right now. It's about to storm again. What a weird morning here in the Quad Cities. What a weird week it's been when it's come to the weather. And tomorrow's supposed to rain. Friday. I can't get my grass cut. So if anybody wants to cut my grass, that would be fantastic as well. Thank you guys for joining us today. It's been a fun show. We focused a little bit more on high school football than we normally do. It's a busy week coming up. Again, Friday we'll be live from Iowa Football Media Day. OTA at Iowa Football Media Day comes your way this Friday afternoon around 3 o'clock. We'll have more information on it tomorrow, but excited to catch up with some local Hawkeyes and Nolan DeLong and Kyler Girardi and Pat Anger will help us out. I don't know if he counts or not anymore, but Addison Ostrega will join us. Yossi Epinesa will join us. Both quarterbacks, Jeremy Heklinski and Hank Brown will join us. Kirk Ferentz himself and a whole bunch more. So a loaded show coming up on Friday. So we want to thank our guests today. We talked Pleasant Valley football with Rusty VanWetzinga. Always fun as he gets ready for year number 20 at the helm at Pleasant Valley. Also talked with Matt Furlong over at Geneseo. Of course, we had our Western Big Six preview, or I should say our high school football preview show on Sunday. We have the Western Big Six banquet coming up this Sunday evening. So come on out down to the Stern Center. Social is at 5 o'clock. Program after that. Listen to all the Western Big Six coaches. But great to talk with Matt Furlong today. And, of course, Lorin Cox. Football season will be here before you know it. Great insight on the Bears. Of course, bad news with Coby Bryant being out 4 to 6 months. But looking ahead to the game with the Browns this weekend, the pluses and the minuses that have come with camp, and you hear the camp stories that you love and you have the camp stories that you hate. It'd be interesting to go back like a couple years and look at what everybody talked about camp a few years ago and if it actually comes to fruition. My big thing is the players. Like a lot of times you'll get a undrafted rookie that like just looks amazing and he's going to impact and then you never hear from him again. So but then you do. So anyways, preseason starts tomorrow. There's some games preseason wise. I know the Hall of Fame game was this past weekend, but a full slate of preseason games coming up this weekend in the NFL starting tomorrow as well. Tomorrow on the show, hoping to track down Tyler Tachman, talk a little more Iowa football as we get ready for the media day on Friday. We're also hoping to snag Jake Brent as well, talk some Cyclones and a high school football preview or two along the way as well. So we did not get to our FCA story of the week today. We will do that tomorrow right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo as well. So a lot to get to coming up tomorrow. Very busy show. And then, of course, coming up on the weekend, on the Friday as well. So thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you to our sponsors for allowing us to do this show every day. If it's about to storm in your area, take cover. I'm glad that I'm done now so I can take off all this electronic stuff and get safe. And hopefully we see you guys back here tomorrow with another edition of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We'll see you then.